Good evening. So I was talking to my friend Barbara about how I like to get color on my images, and I told her that one of my favorite ways to get color on images is to watercolor. So I wanted to show you these three watercolor painters that are water painters that Stampin' Up! Has. You get all three of these for $12, and they're really a great value. This one is a broad, more of a, to do a wash on the background. And then there is a kind of a medium point, and then more of a fine tip point. And I'm going to use the fine tip point just to show you a little how I do it. And it's actually really simple. Just take a clear block and put it down on my pad right here. And I'll take a little bit of water, then just a little bit of it out, and then start coloring in. Do the light coat first. Now to watercolor, you could emboss it in white, putting a little more dark concentrated over the side where the shadow's coming in. You could emboss in white, emboss in black or gold. Now for this particular set, I thought that although white might be really pretty for the trees, might be just a little bit too much for the animals to actually show up. So I chose to just go ahead and do it in black. Now, you could use StazOn to watercolor. Memento, you cannot use Memento unless you wanted to clear emboss over it. But what I actually do is I have, that's also made by Versamark, is a Versa Fine black ink. And I use that to stamp the image. And then I use Stampin' Up! Clear embossing powder. To emboss over it. The Versa Fine stays wet for quite some time, so it's very easy to emboss over. If you were going to stamp with Memento, it doesn't stay wet very long. You would probably need to stamp Versamark over the Memento prior to embossing, because the Memento just doesn't stay dark enough, or I'm sorry, doesn't stay wet enough to actually let you emboss it. You might be able to do it if you were going really, really quick, but I'm just not that quick. But you can tell I'm using the lighter on these trees. I'm using the lighter color all through, and then I'm taking the part that was not wet at all, this concentrated section at the top of the block, and adding some deeper contrast and shadows just to make this a little more interesting. And we'll do, I'm gonna just wipe off the top of it with the baby wipe. Well, I'll tell you what, I think I might make his scarf green too, since I've got so much green out. I hate to waste it. I guess it'd be okay to have a green scarf and a red hat. I mean, if we're making a Christmas card, why not, right? Anyway, I just wanted to show you how simple this is. So this tube in this water painter screws off, and you just fill the barrel with water. It couldn't be any more simple. Believe me, if it were hard, I couldn't do it. But I know that a lot of people use the Stampin' Blends, and I love Stampin' Blends, and especially for flowers, and there's a lot of things I really enjoy using them for. But to me, on the smaller images like this, I just seem to be able to get just a little more control and contrast using watercolor. I got a little bit on his face there, but it's gonna be dark, so it'll cover up. All right, I'm gonna wipe this off. The Stampin' Up! Watercolor paper, this Fluid 100, is a really good quality watercolor paper. I like it so much more than I did their old watercolor paper. Really does a good job. So to clean this brush off, I'm just going to use a baby wipe. And then I have a paper towel, and I'll dab it on that too. And then I'm just going to put a little water over on the edge. And we're just going to do his hat with a light coat of red first. You know, the thing about embossing before you watercolor is that it pretty much holds what you're painting in the lines. I mean, how cool is that? Makes it a lot easier. Just gives you a little bit of a raised edge. It makes it just a little bit easier to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So I'm going to go just a little deeper here to the edge. Maybe along the top and the bottom. And leave just a little touch of light at the edge there. Again, if this was hard to do, believe me, I wouldn't be able to do it. So take my word for it, this is pretty easy. So instead of actually using the black for the penguin, I'm going to use the gray, and I think it's going to be dark enough for his little face. May have to, and still let his eyes shine through. If you did it completely in black, you probably wouldn't be able to see his eyes. Didn't know penguins had hair, but this little guy's got a little bit of hair. So we'll just kind of let that go right there, and we'll do that in later. I said, even though we're doing gray, we're using a pretty dark concentration of it. So it really looks pretty black, or at least like a light black anyway. These animals in the Freezing Fun set are so cute. I really had a struggle. I was going to get one cutesy set, and I was having trouble deciding between Warm and Toasty and Freezing Fun, and I went with the Freezing Fun. Of course, now I've seen all these Warm and Toasty cards, and probably should have gotten that too, and may still go back and get it, but for now, I'm having some fun with this. Anyway, I just hope you can see how simple this is, just to add some color, a little bit of contrast with the more pigmented ink in the corners. Of course, you could also use your re-inkers and just put those on a little Stampin' Block or palette. Wouldn't necessarily have to dab your pad, but it just seems so easy to do this. That's how I tend to do it. And then I guess with the seal back here, we're going to do him in gray too, but we're definitely going to give him a lighter color than the penguin. So I'm using, this is basic gray. But again, just lots of water on this little guy. I'll add a few shadows, but you know, I know there's a lot of probably experts out there that know exactly where the shadows should come from and all that kind of thing. And I'm really not one of those kind of people, but I do know what I think looks good. And if I can do that, I'm usually happy. But to me, this is just the easiest way to add a little bit of color, get a little contrast, and feel good about your project. If you haven't tried this, I really hope you'll give it a shot. Again, and this Fluid 100 watercolor paper is really, really pretty. Sturdy paper that really takes the water well. Super easy to use. And I really believe that you will be able to do it with super simple. I'm going to use a little bit of Bumblebee on this guy's beak and his little feet. Finish my little penguin off. I don't think I'm making him a blonde. Putting a little bit of gold hair on him. Anyway, it's that easy, guys. So simple. It only took a couple of minutes. I've already got the ink pads. Just an easy way to do it. So I hope you'll give it a try if you haven't already. See you later. Thanks. Bye.